When I was still in Chiang Mai, I took advantage of the excellent used bookstores that they have there to stockpile a backpack full of paperbacks to take with me on a train journey southward, stopping along the way periodically until my tourist visa runs out. I'm in Chumpon, Thailand at the moment, at this beach that I have essentially to myself. I'm gonna read these as I go and drop them off along the way. This is already stop number 2. Red as Blood by Tanith Lee, the one that I'm currently reading in an old tattered daw. This is Tanith Lee's retelling of fairy tales from around the world with a dark edge, of course, because it's Tanith Lee. The Third Eye by Lobsang Rampa, which I'm planning to do a buddy read with Sean of SF Ultra. Rampa was a British plumber who convinced a bunch of people that he was a conduit for spiritual energies and interdimensional entities after a trepanning incident. That's where you drill a hole in the skull to let out the bad energies. Opened his pineal gland. John Brunner's The Complete Traveler in Black. I have long wanted to read this. This is in a UK paperback, and I think that there are different text editions of this, and this is the complete one. Change the Sky and Other Stories by Margaret St. Clair is a not very well-known author who wrote a story in 17 Times Infinity, an anthology by Groff Conklin that I thought was pretty middling, and she wrote one of the best stories in there, and someone who history has left behind, and I like people such as this. So I'm curious to read her. I think that was a lucky find. Lee Brackett's Eric John Stark, Outlaw of Mars. I've read basically zero planetary romance. I still haven't read any Edgar Rice Burroughs, and this is a great Del Rey paperback. Lee Brackett. Garments of Sand, which I've already shown off in a previous haul, still haven't read it. The Abominable Snowmen by Eric Norman. A fairly scarce vintage book about Bigfoot and Yeti. Already read this one and reviewed it on the Patreon. And then these are the slightly nicer trade paperbacks. Snail on the Slope by the Strugatskys. I had my pick of a number of Strugatsky books at this used bookstore. One of their more celebrated novels. The Female Man by Joanna Russ in the SF Masterworks as well. You just don't find these in America, but because there's so much British tourism in Thailand, at least half of the books that you find are UK editions, as this one is. Fury by Henry Kuttner. A book that I just could not find in America. And there it is in brand new condition for 220 baht, which is something like $8. He Died with His Eyes Open by Derek Raymond. This is the first of the Factory novels, which is Derek Raymond's crime series. He also wrote a couple of science fiction novels, at least a couple. State of Denmark, I think it's called. This is supposed to be fairly gruesome, but comes highly recommended. I've been on a slight run of reading crime fiction, pseudo on purpose, pseudo on accident. The Space Merchants by Pohl and Kornbluth. Another book that's surprisingly kind of difficult to find in hard copy. And I picked this up because I looked online and I don't think that you can get it on ebook either. At least not on Amazon. Kornbluth I love. He's probably my favorite Golden Age writer that I have read so far. And I've not read any of his collaborations with Frederick Pohl. That is the most famous of their books. Salt by Adam Roberts. I've already read and reviewed this one. This is his first novel published in the year 2000. Very close to Dune and to The Dispossessed by Le Guin. That was a lucky find. That's actually the only Adam Roberts book I've ever found in hard copy in my entire life. And then there's a couple more that I've already shown, but these are the ones that I have on hand. Stone Gods by Jeanette Winterson. I still have not read yet. She's a modernist writer who's done a couple of SF books, and I am pretty optimistic that that's going to be something pretty special. And The Space Machine by Christopher Priest, an homage to old scientific romances in the Wellesian tradition. And I read inverted world and was totally blown away by it. Those are the books that I have on hand. I'm reading them in a basically read what you own challenge style. I'm rolling random picks after I finish each one, and it's a race against the clock to get all these read before my tourist visa runs out, which is probably in just under a month. That deadline is kind of a big deal because the weight limits on airlines here are quite strict. This place I'm really liking so far, and I'm gonna be staying at this riverfront eco hotel for the equivalent of like 40 American dollars a night. It looks palatial and gorgeous, and I'll be shooting a bunch of videos there. But I really like this area so far, and I finally feel like I'm sort of off the beaten path. Okay, thank you for watching.